What's up? I'm Charles Bernard.
Hey, I'm JC Mason.
Welcome to Lightning Strike.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Lightning Strike. We are here today, all three of us, with Cooper Adams. Cooper, thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, glad to be on.
Yes, sir. Cooper, you were signed by the Red Sox last February as a free agent out of college, out of Mount St. Mary's. So actually, you weren't signed out of college, but then you finished college last year at Mount. You decided to go to Tread, I believe, and train and go crazy, put everything you had into that dream of yours to play in the big leagues eventually. And there you're still on that path now. You got picked up by the Red Sox in February. Talk to us a little bit about your journey since you graduated last spring, I believe, and like where you're at now.
Yeah, no, it was obviously, I'm grateful to be on with you guys, and yeah, it was a crazy sort of experience. I mean, I had sort of a thing where I went into the season. I started with Tread Athletics and was like, okay, I'm bound to have a good year, hopefully, and see what happens. And I had a pretty solid year, pretty solid season. But I had velo issues. Like my velo would go from being 90 to 94 to then being like 86 to 90, and it was sort of all over the place. So just ended up having a relatively good season, but just didn't have the sort of the intangibles, I guess, to get signed or drafted or anything. And basically went to a pro day down in Tread and threw pretty well there, but still sort of wasn't where I needed to be to get signed. And I remember my Tread coach sort of telling me, hey, if we can get you to this range, sort of like the 95, 96 range, upgrade your pitches a little bit and like really work on some of your mechanics, I think you'll have a good opportunity. So I just spent sort of a 6-month process of like working on mechanical things and working on just upgrading my pitches, and then threw in a pro day in January at Tread, and soon after got some calls from some teams. I got a call from the Red Sox and ended up signing with them, which was pretty cool.
Yes, sir. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, obviously we've met each other at Tread in the summer, so that was a blast to meeting you there, spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit, and so yeah, now you're on here. You've been in Florida for roughly 2 months now, or a month, something like
Been
that.
around a month, been close to a month, yeah.
Have you been facing some hitters, some pro hitters?
Yeah,
First
so
time?
I actually, I've had, I think, 3 lives now. We faced the Twins last week. I had my first welcome to Pro Ball moment, where I ended up giving up a home run off the foul pole, on a pitch way out of the zone. So I was like, okay, I guess that's my welcome to Pro Ball moment. But did that, and been facing some guys. Like I faced Kyle Teal the other day, faced Roman Anthony, people like that. So it was, it's been quite an experience, I guess, going from facing like mid-major college baseball hitters to now facing like top prospects. But it's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, if I might jump in right here. First of all, thanks for being here, Cooper. It's great to have you on. I'm curious, how are you finding like the spring training schedule? I know it's a very heavy workload, and you got a bunch of stuff going on, and a lot of people, moving parts. How are you like adjusting to this new type of like schedule in day-to-day life in pro baseball?
Dude, yeah, and obviously thank you for having me on. And it's a crazy experience. I didn't think that it would be a lot of early mornings, I guess.
Yeah.
That was not my like first thought. I was like, okay, I mean, it'll probably be in the afternoon doing stuff like that. And probably the craziest thing is you have meetings at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're getting up at 6 and going in for a meeting, and then you have all your stuff basically done within the 10 to 11 period, and you're out by 12 or 1. And it's just sort of a crazy thing to then have your whole afternoon to yourself. And then I guess, from what I've been hearing, it's like it's a complete switch during the season. It's like you have the
Yep.
mornings to yourself, but then the afternoon is obviously when you're getting ready to play and do your thing. So it's been quite a like paradigm shift, I guess, especially compared to college baseball where everything's just in the afternoon and you might have some morning workouts here and there, but like most of the stuff is, in the afternoon, you're doing it then to now having it during spring training where it's like, oh, you're getting up early, even if you have a live, like we had one the other day, it was like I had to do blood work. I had to get blood work in the morning. So I got blood work done. And then I had live at 1 o'clock. We were playing a game at 1 o'clock. So it was like, I'm there at 8 o'clock in the morning and I have to wait until I think it was like 11:50 till my warm up time was, just to get ready to start playing. So definitely an interesting switch, but I think I finally got adjusted to it, which has been nice.
Let's go.
Right.
Coop, I want to talk a little bit about like your mindset going into this process of getting signed and you after college. So I don't remember what you were majoring in college. If you can tell me real quick.
Business. Yeah, it was just
So you're a
business.
business major. So yeah, you're kind of a business oriented. I remember for talking to you a little bit, guy, which is cool. I think we have that in common. But what was the mindset shift? So I mean, I'm sure you were hoping to get drafted and signed after the season last year, but then this time happens, and nothing happens. You realize that you're going to have to either choose something else or keep working trying to accomplish that goal. Like, what was your mindset going into that? What were you thinking about, and how did you get to the conclusion? Like, okay, I'm gonna go all in into this. Like, either this has been what been wanting to do since I was a kid, or like, what was the determining factor where you were like, okay, like we're going all in. This is what we're doing.
No, for sure. It's a good question because it definitely took a little bit to sort of assess the situation. I think when the draft came, I was like, I knew I still had more in the tank that
Mhm.
could get me over the hump and get me into, obviously playing in affiliate ball. Um, and it was just a situation where I knew that I would regret it if I left baseball right then and there. And I knew that obviously with going through business aspirations or any other thing that I wanted to do in my life, I was like I can get to that at some point. Like I can start a business at sort of any age or whatever it is, but I can't really go back and be a professional athlete. So I was just like I'm going to give it everything I have, and try, within the next couple of years to get into affiliate ball and see if, I can make a go at, obviously making it to the MLB one day. Um, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna give it everything I had. And I was obviously lucky enough that, it ended up working out the way it did. So now that I'm in sort of affiliate organization and now sort of working towards obviously the overall goal and dream of making it to the show. But yeah, it was really just regrets for me, man. I didn't want to, definitely didn't want to live with any regrets and look back when I was older and be like, man, like if I just gave myself a little bit of an extra push or sort of worked a little bit harder, to fix some things, I could actually made my dream become a reality.
Yeah, man. I feel like you don't want to be that guy. We always know a guy that's like talking to kids and is like, "Oh, I could have, but like I didn't because of excuses, and other excuses." Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, you didn't do it, but I'm glad you did it, and congrats for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember I was at UMBC at the time, and there was this guy outside, and we were playing the game, and I went down to the bathroom, and he was like, you play here? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, man, back in my day, man, I used to throw, 100 miles an hour or whatever it is. And, but I just had injuries and I just couldn't keep it together and all this type of stuff. And he was like, man, if I didn't have that, I would have made it. And I was like, cool.
Yeah,
But
that's what
sort
I'm
of
talking
that
about.
process in my brain, I was like, dude, I can't ever let myself become one of those people, I guess. So,
For sure.
Yeah. I feel like every guy in his life is gonna look at the TV and be like at an NFL game and be like, yeah, I could do that maybe if I would have done this or done that in the what ifs, and it's kind of a guy thing to do. It's like think of ourselves as, yeah, I could do that maybe. I don't
No, for sure.
know.
No, for sure. It's hard, especially when you've been that athlete for a while too, and you're like, man, like I'm a good athlete, man. I can do this. Like I could do what they're doing on TV. I could
Yeah,
be like Ronald Acuna. I could be hitting 40 home runs a year.
exactly.
Where it's just like, yeah,
Yeah, when
okay, sure.
you step in that box and you realize it's a different challenge to actually do it.
Oh, 100%. When you get in, when you really get into it, you realize like how hard it is to do what some of these guys do. Like you're just like,
Mhm.
wow, like it's very impressive, like extremely impressive.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the
And when
same
you,
with kickers in football.
oh yeah,
Definitely, yeah.
You do with kickers in football, everyone goes, man, I could hit a 20, like a 30-yard field goal or a 40-yard field goal. Like, how are they missing those things? And then you actually try it yourself and you're like, oh, this thing is difficult as
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. Be able to do it repeatedly too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's another thing.
You're
The,
talking.
the
Go
consistency.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Charles. I was just gonna say, like when you get into pro ball, you know, it's one thing to do it and to have the skill, but like if it doesn't show up like on a daily basis, because it's a long season, it gets very long, and it gets really tiring. And so that was a big difference maker I saw with the good players was they're just the same guy every day in day out, and they never, get too low, get too high. That was something I struggled with when I reflect
No,
back on
agreed.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, well, and that's what a lot of people have actually been telling me, especially going into my first season, is just like, just try and be as consistent as you possibly can be, because
yeah,
there's going to be those good days, there's going to be those really bad days, like it's going to happen, but it's not letting it like go on for way too long. Obviously, you want to have your good moments for the entire year. That's how
yeah,
everyone wants it. But you're right. It's just there are going to be those moments where like, you've been doing pretty good, and then you end up in the first inning, you go out there and you give up 9 runs, and it's like crap. But the ability to sort of come back after that and just be like, all right, I'm gonna work on improving those things and make sure the next outing I'm not giving up 9 runs in the first inning. Definitely sets you up pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what was the like? I mean, you get exposed to it pretty much like at Tread when you get there, and being a guy from a mid major, you don't get exposed to that many good guys, and then you get there and you're like, dang, like everybody throws 95 here. Everybody's nasty. It's pretty nuts. But how was it to get to pro ball and have the same realization? You've talked a little bit about it in the beginning, but uh, seeing those hitters and being like, okay, yeah, these are not your typical uh, MAAC hitters or whatever NEC hitters.
Yeah, yeah.
These guys can freaking rake. So like, how was it to realize that, and how have you adjusted your game to this a little bit?
I mean, it's sort of it was interesting. I had a conversation with my roommate about it because he played at Oklahoma. He played in the College World Series with them, and played now I think a 1 full year in affiliate ball. And he was telling me, he was like, listen, like the hitters are very similar. Like it's obviously it gets a little bit better when you get into pro ball. Like the swings are better and all that type of stuff. But especially as you go up levels, really the biggest thing that he was like was just like the approaches get better and their ability to take gets better. They
Mm-hmm.
don't chase as much, and that was something that I really realized was, you know, you could throw that really good slider off the plate to a college hitter, and they're going to swing at it every single time. It's like, oh, like I'm just going to dot that corner, and it's going to go off, and they're going to swing at it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been seeing with a lot of these guys is, you know, you hit your spots, you execute, like you'll be in a good thing. I think for me, it's not giving them too much credit. Like hitting a baseball is extremely hard to do, but it's understanding I can't just throw, non-competitive pitches and expect them to get swings and misses. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I got to make every pitch as competitive as I can be, and even just sort of the process of sequencing my pitches of being like, okay, like they saw a pitch up. Now it's like, oh, they saw a pitch up and they saw a pitch down. It's like, where can I go from there? Um, and just understanding that type of stuff, and really also understanding, how my stuff plays. And I think, I'm a guy that sort of sinks the ball really well, and I throw a good changeup. So it's like, using that to my advantage, but understanding that with a lefty, if I just throw sinkers and changeups off the plate to a lefty, they're just going to get up on the plate and just smack it the other way. So it's being able to obviously have a pitch that comes in, like have that slider that goes in or that cutter that goes into him, so it backs him off the plate a little bit and makes him think. So it's just sort of taking more of a logical approach, I guess, to pitching, and not just being like, oh, I just have the stuff that I can overpower these guys. It's realizing that, like, oh, I can't just throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs by guys. Like those are not things that a lot of guys can get away with. Like even if you look at Spencer Strider, like he has a unicorn fastball and he still gets nailed a good amount of times. It's like realizing, you know, you're not just going to be able to blow stuff by people. You're not be able to, like, yeah, obviously the off speed, like if you have good off speed, it's a lot harder to hit, but like hitters can adjust, hitters can do their thing. So it's just being able to sequence, being able to like spot your pitches and, you know, execute when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. I'm kind of curious about the lifting within the Red Sox org. Do they have like cookie cutter programs for you guys for every pitcher, or do you get some freedom and like a say in what you want to do? How does that part work?
So right now for us, it's been we're around two lifts a week. We usually
Hmm.
do it on our high days, and it's mainly, I mean, right now it's been mainly everyone does the same lift.
Yeah.
There's some specialized and some development, um, but like a lot of it is like, okay, you're on this development plan, this is going to be the lift. If you're on the specialized plan, like this is going to be the lift. So at least right now, it's been sort of more that cookie cutter esque lift, but it's been still really good. And I obviously I add some things in, and they're very pretty open with like you adding some stuff in, especially if it helps you. And I know I do some mobility and like lifting stuff either after my lives or before my lives that I've gotten with tread. And they're very open with like, hey, you go in, use the weight room. You know, it's cool. Just obviously stay on the side of the minor leaguers. Don't just go wandering
Yeah.
over to where all the major leaguers are. But like, um, you know, just use it to make sure you succeed. And they've been pretty open with the fact that like, hey, we're a resource for you, and it's your career, so you know you need to do the things necessary to have success in your career, and we're here to help you in any way we possibly can.
Yeah,
Nice, nice.
I like to hear that. I like to hear that they're not necessarily spending that much time because there's so many guys in the minor leagues, but at the same time they're open to that and having that conversation without them programming everything. You can seek for outside resources and then come to an agreement that like, yeah, like it is your career, like you said. We're gonna do everything. Like we're gonna let you do everything you think is best for yourself because at the end of the day, like you're probably gonna perform better doing something you believe in rather than just doing the shit we give you without caring about anything else because we have the big ego to think that our stuff works better than everyone. So I'm glad
100%.
they're doing that. One other thing I was curious. I don't know if it was your coaches that were calling the game last year or how that was working, but how's that been going now that you're in pro ball? Like, are you calling your game? Like, how have you adjusted your pitch calling and to kind of similar question to the last one, but like, how's that been working versus college now?
It's definitely it's new because I obviously in college we had our coach calling pitches, and we just look down and be like, oh, okay, we're fastball or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here it's been catchers have a relatively good idea of what you're doing. I mean, I've been lucky with one of the catchers I had in my first two lives. Like he called my first bullpen here, and like he had a good idea of like what my stuff did and how to get. Um, Players out. And it's interesting going back. It's almost going back to like travel ball, like having the catcher call the game and like seeing guys like being able to manage a game really well. And I've been seeing a lot more catchers here being able to manage the game pretty well. It's been different. I mean, I'm on a they have different goals for our lives, and that's the one thing about spring training is, it's more just to develop, and it's more just to get like some things better. So like for me, right now they know that like my fastball can play, my sinker can play, like all that's good. My changeup's good. But now it's like, all right, they want to make sure that I can throw my slider in for a strike and I can throw my changeup whenever I want. And they want me to basically have it where I'm throwing off speed before every, in every count. And it's been an interesting part because I think my last time out, uh, the first like four batters I faced, I didn't throw a fastball until I got behind. Like if I got behind, then I was throwing a fastball, which sometimes the catcher would call. Sometimes the guy would just be like, "Hey, let's just throw a fastball." But they've been a lot more, "Hey, let's throw off speed so we can get ahead, and then just keep going off speed." They've been pretty big on that, and at least for me, they want to just make sure I can prove that I'm throwing my off speed in any count, and that I can throw good off speed in any count. So it makes my fastball obviously play a lot better. And then from there, obviously, going into the season, it's sort of just being able to mix those two, where it's like, all right, I can throw my fastball in any count, but I can also go, hey, I can throw three straight off speed pitches to you and get you out, and then I can throw three straight fastballs and get you out. So it's like being able to mix things up, and I have the one where I throw a sinker and then throw a changeup, two changeups, and then you think it's a 1-2 count, and I can throw a slider into you. Like just being able to throw different pitches in different counts, and having it where the catcher understands that, and it's not just the pitching coach being like, okay, I think this will be the best in this scenario. And me and the catcher are looking at each other being like, are you kidding me right now? That's the worst pitch call ever. Um,
That never
to
happened in
them,
college, I'm sure.
oh yeah, never, absolutely never. But yeah, no, being able to have the catcher understand like how your stuff is, and also like who's at the plate right now, and be able to call the game themselves is really nice, and the ability to shake off, because shaking off was just not, it wasn't a thing in college. It was just like you try and shake off, and your coach, you just see him in the dugout being like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So being able to shake off and like be like, oh no, like I think in this count it'd be better to throw a changeup, or this count it'd be better to throw a fastball, like that type of stuff. It's definitely you have more freedom to do that, which is nice.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, that's the thing with spring training. It's a lot of experimenting. Have you guys heard? Apparently, the Yankees don't even want to play like regular spring training games anymore, at least in the minor leagues, because they want to be super hands-on and control whoever gets that many ABs and that many like pitches. My buddy told me that like earlier today when I was golfing. I was like, wow, it's kind of weird thing. I don't know if they're allowed to do that, but apparently the Yankees don't even want to play these games anymore and just experiment on guys until season starts. So I don't know if you guys think it's a good idea or not, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean that is interesting, and I think it's I, obviously this is my first spring training, so I'm just sort of figuring things out
Yeah.
as I go. But I know, having it where you face outside competition, I think always helps. I think it just always helps in the sense of like when you've been facing guys that and inner squads and stuff like that, like you can still get a good gauge. Like obviously if I'm going out there and I'm facing Kyle Teal and Marcelo Meyer and like Roman Anthony, who are top prospects in the org, like every time, like I'm gonna get better, for sure. But I definitely think, being able to still have the approach of like, hey, these games really don't matter. Like spring training games don't matter. So, if you go out there and you have a goal of, hey, we're going to throw this cutter that we just taught you. Or, for me, like my last outing, they switched up my changeup grip, and it was my first time throwing that new changeup, just to see how it moved and how it played. And then being like, okay, like, hey, it looked good. Now you just need to focus on these different things, focus on finding a new focal point or whatever it is. Um, I think it's still important because you have the feeling and the adrenaline of being in an actual game and against an actual opponent that you don't know, but also still have that situation where you're like, okay, I'm going after a goal here, and I'm still sort of working on things where it's like, okay, I can work on my changeup or my off speed, or throwing my fastball in different counts or sequencing or whatever it is, but you're still in that competitive field. I think it helps, but obviously, I can see where the Yankees are getting to that fact of like, oh, okay, let's just keep everyone in, and you know have it where we're controlling everything. I can understand it, but I think being able to get outside, playing outside teams is definitely beneficial, at least for me.
Yeah, I think I agree on that. I'm with you on that side. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, man, it's an interesting thing, but I mean, I feel like also you've talked about like how they teach you there's certain philosophies about being behind in counts and stuff, and I feel like this probably applies to hitters as well, and hitters' philosophy across organizations. So maybe getting to face different organizations, especially minor leaguers that are just getting there, will probably be more inclined to
Mhm.
have a similar approach. So that exposes you to different stuff as well. I mean, I might be saying stuff that's completely not relevant right now, but I mean, it might be a
No, for
thing.
sure.
That's a good
I
point.
agree. No, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Because it's, I mean, there's a lot of guys that they've done something so specific for college because it worked in college, and then you get to pro ball and it just doesn't work in pro ball. So
Yeah.
it's like, being able to actually face those level of hitters, and like they're not hitters that just um, that you see every day or know how to get out, and you're actually forced to, hey, I got to actually work on my stuff and get my stuff better to get some of these guys out. I think always, it's always beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. Um, how is that? Having new catchers, like you said, calling the game, and you being able to shake off. Like you're a super friendly guy. I'm sure you don't struggle to make friends out there. But how has that like been going? Like getting to know your catchers. I'm sure having relationships with them is even more special. The higher up you go in levels of baseball. So, how's that been going? Getting to know them, getting to make them understand too how your pitches play, how you like to approach certain guys. Um, I'm sure you're still in the process of that, but talk to us a little bit about that.
It's been good, man. I've my last outing, I had a different catcher than I've had before, but like the first three lives, I had this catcher's name's Montero, and he was very open to trying things with me, and obviously very, he would basically tell me like, hey, I think if you throw this pitch and then go this pitch off of it, like we're gonna be really good, and like all that. So, meeting a lot of those guys has been great. I think meeting the guys in general, it's like a scary process at the start, especially because like a lot of these guys know each other, or came in with each other with like the draft class or whatever it is. So coming in as sort of the new guy, it's like, oh, like trying to make
Mhm.
friends and do all that can be an interesting process. But once you get it down, and I mean, once you just obviously go and talk to people and open yourself up, um, it's just been a lot of fun, and especially talking to um, the catchers, and I'm talking to Kyle Teal and talking to Montero, and a bunch of different catchers that I've been meeting. It's just like, yeah, getting their worldview on everything, getting how they view baseball, getting to view how they view catching and pitching, and pitch calling and all that type of stuff. It's been just very interesting. It's been very enlightening for me to see how like sometimes different the mentalities can be, and also just like difference in the sense of how they go about things. But like most of the time it ends up being the same thing, where it's just like, yeah, we just want to put your stuff and the stuff that you have the most confidence in the best chance to get people out, and that's
Hmm.
the goal. So
Yeah,
it's been a fun experience.
that's awesome, man.
How's your Spanish going? Oh, there's a lot of
Oh,
Spanish speaking people.
it's well. That's the funny thing is both my catchers were are Spanish speakers. Montero's very good with both, um, but I've been trying my best to get my Spanish down. I actually we backed up a game. I backed up a game yesterday for the big league team, with the Braves, and I actually one of the guys that was with me is a guy that he's one of my close locker mates, and I've been talking to him recently. I can't remember his first name, but his last name's Senya. And I was literally sitting in the bullpen, and I was like, dude, you need to help me with my Spanish.
Mm,
Like, you need to, I need something here, because I've been getting a little bit better. Obviously, you have the que lo que, and bien, bueno. Everybody says diablo,
yep,
fuego, all that type of stuff.
coño.
But yeah, just being yeah, yeah, being able to have like conversations with them. I'm still getting to that, getting to that process of being able to have like a full blown conversation. But it'll get there. My goal by the end of the season is to be able to know enough Spanish that I can have a conversation with some of these guys.
Yeah. With the Blue Jays, they were given like lessons, so we had like a Spanish teacher, and I took a bunch of lessons and tried to talk, and by the end of it, I got like
Dude,
pretty
you're pretty
decent
good
at it.
now.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
good now because I spent so much time talking to these guys. But
Dude, we went to Boston last December, me, JC, and one of our other buddies, and we went to see the Celtics one night. We had to take an Uber to the game, and the guy was just Spanish, and he was barely speaking English. And JC just out of nowhere, me and my friend know nothing in Spanish, and he
Oh,
just
yeah.
starts chopping it up with the dude. I'm like,
Well,
dude, where is that coming from? Dude,
the
I was
rookie
so
ball
impressed.
days, man. The rookie ball days.
Dude, I
will
was
do
so
that to you.
impressed. It was sick.
Yeah.
That's my goal. My goal is to be the JC, just being able to speak, at least have a conversation with some people and talk
Yeah.
to them. Because sometimes you'd be like, you want to have a conversation with them because they're like
You just can't.
really nice
Yeah.
guys, and you're just like, I don't know what to say to you. We don't understand each other. So, but it's fun. I mean, there's one guy we joke around about a lot because he calls me and my roommate Fuego 1 and Fuego 2. My roommate throws like 99 to 100, so he's easily Fuego 1, but that's like our only form of communication is we go, que lo que? And he'll be like, Fuego dos. And the only thing I say is like, oh, you're Fuego tres. Fuego tres, look at you. That's it. Like, that's literally our conversations. And I was like, okay, I definitely want to be able
That's
to
hilarious.
have a little bit more conversations with them.
I think it's so funny and interesting though how you can like bring that back to like the level of communication of like a 3-year-old and still like enjoy those conversations. This is literally how babies speak, and then you've been accustomed to speaking with people regularly, and then you just bring it down to like a vocabulary of 5 words each, and you're still like you're like, yeah, man, I like this guy. I've never said anything else than those 3 words to him, but he's cool.
Literally. And what's interesting too, because obviously they're doing the same thing. They're trying to learn English,
Yeah.
so it's like trying to teach them a little bit of English, and me trying to learn some Spanish. So like I talked to Senya about it. He's like, yeah, you teach me English, I'll teach you Spanish. So we're trying to like get a little bargaining, a little compromise for us. So I'm hoping by the end of the season I can at least be somewhat coherent in Spanish.
Hell yeah. Talking about a little bargaining in business, that makes me think about the other stuff. You majored as a business guy, and now you said you kind of set that aside for now, trying to focus on baseball. What do you like think about when you're off the field? What do you do? Do you have some projects in mind? Tell us a little bit more about off the field stuff.
Oh man, I see. I've been very bad with it recently, but
Yeah.
yeah, when I'm off the field, man, I like doing obviously like the usual things, playing video games, doing stuff like that. But I ended up after the season ended, sort of just to like give myself something to do, but also like do something I was interested in. I ended up just posting some on TikTok and doing stuff like that. So I got to post more because it's been like I think a month since I last posted, but I was having a good streak there for a while. But yeah, no, just doing that type of stuff. I'm hoping in the off season get a little get my real estate license, do stuff like that. Just trying to like keep learning, keep growing as much as I can. And just keep understanding that there's going to be a point where baseball's done. And obviously to try and be as well-rounded as a person as I can be, just keep sort of learning and keep understanding things and, I guess enjoying life out of baseball because you definitely need a break. Obviously I haven't been through a full pro season, but at least being from a college season, I know JC's been through a pro season. It's like when that season is done, you're like, I don't want to touch a baseball for the next like
Nope.
5 months. So it's definitely going to be one of those things when September comes around and it's the end of September and the season's done. I'm going to be like, all right, I'm doing
Yeah.
nothing but like no baseball, just everything else but baseball.
And then they invite you to instructs, and you're like, I don't know. because they might, at the end of the season, they bring you in the office, and they asked me last 2 years ago, and I declined, man. I just declined because I was done. My mental needed a break. Um, but I think the off days that you get a bunch of them every week. These are really important, and it's important to not like underestimate them because if you just wake up and sit in your hotel room all day and do nothing and wake up late, which is tempting to do because you're tired as shit, but then you don't do anything and you get into that like trap of, it's like the same day all week. But if you use these rest days to do something, go golfing, go to the beach or something, and just do something else, which is going to help you like stay well rounded and get a little break from those hard weeks.
No, for sure. It's actually that's probably been the interesting part about spring training, at least for me, is my roommate and well, so my roommate's girlfriend's down here too, and so every day when we get back from practice and stuff, it would be like, all right, we take a little bit of a nap, and they're like, all right, let's go to the beach.
Mm,
So we're at least doing fun stuff there. I definitely have my moments, um, where like today is our off day, for example. In the past two off days, I've been basically getting up and going doing things. We played golf the other day,
yeah.
and I think I went to the beach the other day and met with some people, whatever it was. Today I was like, yeah, I just need that one day to just do absolutely nothing. But
Oh yeah.
I think you're right. You're right. Using it sparingly is huge.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But yeah, man, I'm glad you're talking to us about that real estate and all that sort of stuff. I mean, remember talking to you a little bit. I feel like you're always looking for opportunities and different things. So I kind of had a feeling that you were navigating towards that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, it's interesting to just learn what people are into. Do you read? Do you read a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I do. I'm trying to get better with it. I remember we talked about it a lot at Tread, just different things like that. Like um, we I started reading. I think it was what book was it right now? I think Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the book I'm reading right
Oh,
now,
it's fire, bro.
and
I
it's
just
been
read
like,
that.
oh, it's a great book, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get like find that time of at night being able to sit down and actually just read it because I know I'm going to get sucked in, but I know I got to get up early and so I got to get to sleep. So it's been like a week or so since I've delved back into it, but I use some of these off days to just sort of like get back into reading it and at least read at least 5 or 10 pages if I can. And I've been trying to get better with just like even a day, like even a page a day, or like something like that, just to get keep reading and trying to get through books and gain knowledge. Like that's the key. I'm definitely trying to get better with it though, because I get lazy. But yeah,
Same
it's
here.
reading is such the best thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, it is, man. I just finished Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's really sick. Like the stuff that he says is cool, and there's also his game that he talks about in it. I don't know if you played it. I don't know if you've been to that part through that part yet,
Mm-mm.
but I want to play that game because he says like this is how you learn how to invest, and it's online. You could do it. I still haven't done it yet. I just thought about it. Um, but yeah,
Well,
Is
man,
he
now you
talking
can go
about
play
like?
it now. Now good.
Uh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't he saying to like get some debt and shit? Like, you got to get in debt to
Yeah, yeah.
grow
Well, I mean,
some.
he's just saying
I
to
haven't read
leverage
it.
good debt in order to be. No, no, but
Okay.
he's basically demystifying the stuff about that all debt is bad debt, and that
Okay.
basically if debt brings you cash flow that's bigger than your debt, so you have to pay your debt a certain amount each month. But if the money that your debt is making you make that amount is bigger than the amount you have to pay, then it's good debt
Yeah.
because you have to pay a certain amount, but that certain amount that you paid in the beginning that got you into debt is bringing you more than that amount. So at the end of the day, you're going to make more money than you spent, which is a good deal.
Yeah,
But
it's the goal.
people,
Goal I think is to have positive cash flow as much as you
exactly,
can.
exactly. As long as you have positive cash flow, it's a good deal. So it's not about the money you have now; it's about the cash flow you can produce, and the cash flow you can leverage with the good debt that you have with the assets that you buy. So it's
Yeah, when
not
I
going to
think it's
go.
interesting too, because we go on the whole topic about it, but like my dad's an accountant, and
Mhm.
for me, I was like, dude, accounting is so boring. It
Yeah,
was just
I
so boring.
convince
But
you to get into it.
reading that, I was like, oh and
to
like
learn about it.
understanding it, like understanding how the principles work, like understanding how money works, all that type of stuff like that. It really is important, even if it is the most boring thing in the world sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's, I think obviously, like you said, outside of baseball, trying to learn those things. Because I mean, I know me and Charles talked about, down and tread outside of baseball, different business ventures we like to do and different things that we'd like to do outside of baseball. And, it's understanding that, you know, obviously my entire life I've been a baseball player, but understanding that it's going to come to an end at some point, and, being able to sort of go from that and be like, all right, I'm going to jump into this next opportunity and be sort of excited for it.
Yeah, definitely. And we always kind of push it too. It's been something we've been pushing onto our athletes a lot recently, is like, and onto like our philosophy we try to promote on social media. It's just like this idea of not just being a one dimension guy that just you're good at baseball. And it's like, yeah, you're good at baseball, but so what? Like if you're an asshole, if you don't know anything, if you're boring, like it makes you kind of, it takes away from the I'm good at baseball thing. At some point people are going to realize, yeah, he's good at baseball, but that's it. So we really push forward that philosophy of get good at everything. And then we had a great podcast like a while ago with one of our former coaches, Charles, and he was just telling us about how every single thing that you do is like an opportunity to put one more tool in your toolbox. And whether you think it's going to help you or not in baseball, it might always, you get better. And then if you become a better product, like if I am a better version of myself because of that thing, then the byproduct of that might be that I'm going to get better at baseball because I get out of that like limited mindset of staying kind of focused on one thing, and I kind of open my mind up to all those extra possibilities from all those things I'm learning, and then I just might happen to get better, or I might happen to I have this idea about my mechanics or whatever. Like I'm making stuff up, but it's this idea of consistently doing other things that kind of bring something to your person that's going to make you ultimately better, and then the byproduct of that might as well make you a better baseball player.
Well, I
It's kind of
agree
cool.
because I think I think one of the mindsets that when I went down to tread the second time, I actually had a call with my best friend because I was sort of terrified going in there. It's like I'm leaving home for 3 months, and for me, I'm a Maryland kid, and I went to school in Maryland, so like I was always, like an hour away from my house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never a situation where like, oh, if like I'm having a bad day or like, I wanted to go home, I was homesick, I could just go home. And I was like, oh, I'm 6 hours away. Like there isn't, I could go home if I wanted to, but it's like, it's a little bit farther away. You're sort of stepping out. And I remember having a conversation. I was like, man, like sometimes you just want to crawl up into a ball and just, you're, scared to go talk to people or do all, you try to close yourself off. I think one of the most important things, at least for, obviously people getting into the journey of baseball or just getting the journey of life, it's like, opening yourself up as much as you can, to just doing new things, meeting new people. Like I think that's the best way, obviously, to experience life and also just meet people with similar experiences than you. I think, to be honest, like that's how we met each other was, open ourselves up and going up and having a conversation, and and end up leading to a good friendship, and it's it led us to this conversation right now. So it's like there's a lot of different things that I believe with opening yourself up and being a good person in general. Like people like when you're a good person and not
For
not an
sure.
asshole. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. And it's like every opportunity, whether it's something that you think kind of relates to your objectives or not, kind of brings its own thing. And the main thing is just do something. I keep telling my brother recently, just do something, man. It doesn't matter. Like, but what? But what? It doesn't matter. Like, you can go play darts with a bunch of people you don't know, and you might meet somebody that's going to bring you something. Like when you start seeing everything as an opportunity to get better at something, or an opportunity that might bring something to your life, then everything becomes better, and you start being excited about those things rather than being scared of the unknown and like, oh my God, I might look stupid. But yeah, but you might also gain a contact that's going to end up being the best thing ever or whatever.
Yeah, it might change your life. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of things where you go do something and you sort of go work through that fear and you go do it, and it's like that thing changed your life. I mean, to be honest, that's how I think about sort of my 3 months of tread was like I worked through some fear and went there, and you know, it ended up changing my life in the sense that obviously I got the opportunity I'm at today. So it's like, you know, there's a lot of those sort of fearful moments, a lot of those moments that like definitely try and hold you back. But if you sort of push through those moments and you know, understand like, hey, you know, I'm going to go for it and be open and see what happens, you know, it ends up usually in the end in a better circumstance than you can sort of ever imagine.
So,
Yeah, and if I might add, like hearing you talking about fear, I'm sure Charles, you've experienced fear. I've experienced it, and so the point is like everyone is going to experience it. Like every person, like we're just human, and so knowing that, I think it makes it easier. That okay, like I'm not the only one feeling this. Like everyone's kind of a little anxious and stuff, so I can step forward. Sometimes people say like they're not afraid of anything, and they try to block themselves off, and think that's kind of probably a reaction to fear is to close yourself off because you don't want to let anything in.
Hmm.
But when you go through that fear, you can kind of let it like touch you, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not too bad, and then you do it again, and then you can move forward that way.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, let's just sort of like propel you forward.
Yeah,
Almost, it's like, all right, I worked through this thing. I understood I'm not alone, and I'm in a place where okay, next time that same situation comes up, like I'm good to go. Like I've dealt
yeah,
with it before. I know how to deal with it before.
hmm
You know, that's really important because I think there's a lot of those circumstances. I mean, you know, I guess sort of a funny story with this is like my first day being a Red Sox. I got down here and we're in the hotel, and we had to be for physicals. I believe it was at 6:45, and the bus left at 6:15 from the hotel, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna be on time. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be that, and I missed the bus. I got up perfectly on time. Everything was good, but I didn't realize the bus parked on the back of the hotel and not the front. So I went to the front and I'm like looking around, I'm like, where is everybody? Because I know I'm not the only one that lives in the hotel. Like, what the heck? And I just see the bus driving away. And that like fear I had at that moment of just like, I'm gonna get cut, like everything I work towards is gonna come crumbling down, like all this type of stuff. And you just sort of take a step back, and obviously I just got an Uber and was there. But you like take a step back and I got there and I remember I was freaking out. I'm like, oh, am I late? Am I this? Am I that? And all the guys were like, just take a deep breath. Like, you're perfectly fine. Like, nobody's gonna cut you. You belong to be here. Like that type of stuff. And being able to have sometimes that reassurance that like, you know, obviously it's fear can be a good thing sometimes, but understanding that like a lot of times your fears are always like built up to be more when in reality it's not always that big of a deal.
hmm yeah. Really helps you put things into perspective better. I feel when you just do a bunch of things. Like you might be scared of something, but then you still do it, and then you're like, oh, that's it. And then when you expose yourself to all different kinds of things, it's like all of these things are just those things. Like if you take things for what they actually are, rather than putting them into like that stance of being crazy or scary or whatever, bigger than life things. Like most of the time, it just happens to be a regular thing that you see as something that's disproportionate to what it actually is. So when you start doing stuff, at some point you realize like, dude, like, it's fine. Like we'll be all right here. And even if there is a negative consequence, like even if you get like suspended for a day or whatever, you'll look back at it in 2 years and be like, yeah, that was nothing. And like maybe that just made me have that conversation with that coach that otherwise I wouldn't have talked to. And now we're buddies because we talked that first day and he had to suspend me because of team rules or whatever. But it's always things that come out of it, most of the time don't end up being as bad as they are.
And usually come out better than, I think better than you expected.
Yeah, yeah, really.
There's just a lot of those conversations, a lot of those moments in life where you like go through some struggle or you go through like a moment that's just really uncomfortable and you realize like after it was one of the best things that ever happened to you and you're just like, wow, like that's actually crazy that this terrible experience that I thought was gonna basically end my life, like it was gonna kill me, ended up being the best thing for me. So it's
yeah,
and I think understanding that, especially as like a younger athlete, like going through everything, it's like those moments are gonna happen, but sort of trying to deal with that uncomfortability and like pushing through it. It's really important.
That's really well
Yeah.
said, man.
I think it could be a great way to
Yeah, man.
wrap things up. What do you guys think, Charles? About
Yeah,
15
man. I
minutes.
mean, it's been a blast, man. I think
It was
this is
great.
about our time target we usually do. Yeah, man, Cooper, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a blast, and I definitely look forward to sending that to some young baseball players that could get a lot of good things out of this conversation. Um, yeah, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, bro, and I wish you all the best in your new job, and I'm
Thank you.
sure it'll be a great experience, great first season, and I hope everything goes like you wanted, man.
Thank you guys, and obviously I really appreciate you guys having me on and having the conversation, and continuing to learn from you guys, and obviously grateful.
Yes, sir. Well,
Thank
it's
you
good
so
to see you
much.
again, and we'll see you later, brother.
All right,
Good luck
peace,
this season.
guys.
See you,
Peace
man.
out.
Thank you.